Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our Trainer HQ Community Special Live presentation. I want to run you through, in many ways, what I refer to as a personal journey inside the fitness industry. So please come on this journey with me. Now, for those of you who are tuned into this, please make sure that you try and rid yourself of any distractions, phones, Facebook, socials, any of that sort of stuff that might hold you back from receiving some of the information I want to share with you today. Because if there was a tactic, a tool, a methodology that might help you in your fitness business, would you want to know about it? And hopefully the answer would be yes. So please stay with me and stay tuned. And I call this the mindset of the six-figure personal trainer. And in many ways, this presentation is all about a personal journey through the fitness industry that has spanned for many, many years. Well over 25 years ago is when I launched as a PT. So I want to share with you some of the points along that timeline and how I was able to not only build up a team of 13 personal trainers doing well over 200 hours of PT via 45-minute sessions, but also increase my own personal charge-out rate all the way up to $440 for a single 45-minute session. Now, that particular statement and that particular topic alone in the 13 years since we've been running Trainer HQ has been one of maybe the most, you might say, controversial or one of the most argued or talked about pieces, because it conjures up many thoughts, it conjures up many different questions. And so I want to share with you some of the points along the timeline and how I was able to achieve some of these things. Now, today's session is not about how you can charge $400 for your next session. More importantly, I want to unpack for you what's possible inside this great industry. But let me start at the very beginning and when the fitness industry kicked off for me. A very long time ago, I'm 46 years old now. When I was 12 years old was when I got my first barbell set. So for me, training, exercise was an absolute love affair and something that I embraced from such a young age and something that I hold very dearly to my heart. Now, in my teenage years, at the age of 15, I did my first bodybuilding competition. I was in grade 10 at high school. So whilst the other kids were out there, riding skateboards in the afternoon and eating meat pies for lunch, I was eating tuna and rice for lunch every day and hitting the gym every afternoon. So you might suggest that this industry and everything that we do inside the fitness industry has been my love affair. It's been my passion from day one. Moved on to start doing well and placing in national bodybuilding championships. And what it meant for me is at the age of 21 in 1995, I was able to win then the Junior Mr. Australia Bodybuilding Championship. So like I said, I'm 46 now, and at the age of 21 was when I won that title. And at that point in time, that was when I formally launched my personal training business, which was called Peak Physique. And so as the newly crowned junior national champion, in my head, I thought my perception of this business was going to be awesome. I thought I was going to absolutely crush it. And the reason I thought that was that from such a young age, from the age of 12, I've lived and breathed this industry, and I've lived and breathed everything about exercise training and nutrition. And so I've been designing diets, I've been writing exercise programs for friends and family members and so forth since I was in high school, since I was a teenager. And I knew that my destiny was to do something in the health and fitness space. Interestingly enough, when I did launch, however, I had absolutely no idea about how to run a fitness business. And so when I kicked off, I had absolutely no idea on how to get clients or how to acquire people. I had no idea on how to effectively market myself or get my right messaging across. When I got people in front of me, I was, so fearful that I might lose them or lose an opportunity that I was always discounting or doing whatever I could to try and entice somebody to sign up. I became that personal trainer that would train anyone, anywhere, anytime. And so I kind of walked around and I used that as a bit of a badge of honor. It was almost like, early mornings, middle of the days, late nights, weekends, you name it. I was too afraid to say no to people in fear that I might lose out on business. I was too afraid to do stuff like enforce cancellation policies. So in the very beginning, I just didn't have them. But then when I eventually got a cancellation policy in place, I was too afraid to enforce it in fear that I might upset people, in fear that they might stop coming back, in fear that they might think that I'm just in it for the money and all that sort of stuff. And so what it meant for me during that time was that it was very challenging. I was too afraid to increase my rates. Now, you heard of this already, charging $400 a session. I certainly didn't start out, and I certainly didn't have the right mindset on what it took to earn what I was worth. And so what I notice right now in this industry is these things are pretty common. So I look back, and that was the first 5 years for myself in the industry. Now, have a think about where you sit in the industry at the moment. You know, are you new to it? Are you within your first 12 months? Are you within your first 2 years or your first 3 years? Or are you potentially within your first 5 years in the industry? And the question I've got for you is that inside your first 5 years, would you like to be following a roller coaster journey a bit like I was? So when I look back at that point in time, at that roller coaster journey, there were times on that timeline where things seemed to be moving okay. I.e., when I started out, I really had no clue on how to get people, and very slowly I started building up. But then over that 5 years, there were times when clients would come in, and I would start to get some clients and get some momentum, and there would be some cash flow coming into the business. And then all of a sudden, for no apparent reason, suddenly I might lose 1, 2, maybe 3 clients, all in a small space in time, maybe 1 or 2 weeks. And what that meant for me is that it presented me with an incredibly stressful situation, because I had no concept or no methodology on how I was going to find the next person once I'd lost that previous person. And so when I reflect back to my very first piece of advertising and marketing, think about my knowledge about marketing and advertising at that point in time as the 20 or 21-year-old start-out personal trainer. I had absolutely no clue about what to do. Now, the first ad that I pieced together, I pretty much designed it myself. And if you can see that, if you can get a bit of an idea on what that looks like, it was a photo of myself. It was the logo that I'd had designed at the time. So I'd had this great, in my opinion, I got the logo there. I'm going to stick the logo on the ad. I'm going to have a photo of myself, and it says, "Be trained by the 1995 Junior Mr. Australia." Now, back in 1995 is when I launched this ad, is that I saved up all this money that I didn't have, and I prepaid for 8 weeks worth of advertising in the local newspaper. So this is a cutout from a local newspaper, and we didn't have any Facebook or internet, all that sort of stuff available back at our fingertips back then. So you did the traditional form of advertising. So, all pumped up, I launched the ad, and over 8 weeks, it was just there. It's got my phone number on there and my name, and I just pretty much had the fingers crossed and was just hoping and praying that people were going to actually call. Now, you're probably wondering how many people did call over those 8 weeks, and when I tell you it was a big fat 0, you probably won't be too surprised when you see the structure and the nature of the ad. Fascinatingly enough, if you're wondering what did I then conclude about advertising and marketing, well, in my head, I said it doesn't work. It's a waste of time, it's a waste of money, it's a waste of energy. Interestingly enough, 25 years down the track, what I see in this day and age are people that still follow a similar formula to that. I can tell you straight up that a piece of marketing needs to have some sort of benefits-driven headline, some sort of sub-headline, some sort of benefits-driven copy in there that entices somebody to take the next step, some social proof of people that have been there and done it before you have, some type of call to action to entice people to take the first step with you. And really, it's all about trying to take somebody on a journey and starting to try and build some type of rapport and relationship with somebody. But I had no clue that stuff existed back then. And so consequently, I look back and I look at this piece of marketing, this piece of advertising, and what I say is my response, my emotional response to it was very much so the fact that it became a metaphor for many things in business. I decided in my mind, and I concluded a lot of things in business don't work. Advertising doesn't work. Marketing doesn't work. This is a waste of time. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of energy. And consequently, over that 5-year journey, I had many moments when I look back on it and I go, my business or the opportunity that I had to build this business really suffered as a result of not learning some of these strategies, as a result of not learning some of these concepts. And so that's what I'm passionate about. Us at Trainer HQ, since we launched in 2008, is assisting people like yourself to be able to put that stuff in place. Now, what I also can tell you for a fact is that these things are pretty common in the industry now. 25 years down the track, I still see this happening in this day and age. I still see many PTs that are too afraid to increase their rates, have no strategy for being able to enforce cancellation policies, are wasting time and are missing opportunities, have no clue on how to attract their ideal clients via effective messaging and marketing methods, and just don't have anyone to hold them accountable on what it takes to build a successful business. So I am here to tell you from the outset that there are solutions available to you, and we can really assist you on this journey. So please stay tuned, because I want to speak to you about how you can, inside 30 days, be able to build the business platform and the business structure that you require to get the results and the success that you're after. So I went on to build a business. The business was called Peak Physique, and I built that in the city of Brisbane, Australia here. And over the 20 years that we run that personal training business, we built it up to growing to a team of having 13 personal trainers. And inside that, we did 200 plus hours of 45-minute personal training sessions every week. So we built up a really strong model. We built up a really strong business. I used to operate that business underneath the roof of a commercial facility. So for those of you who operate your business inside a gym, that's exactly what I did. And I paid a rental fee for not only myself, but my team of 13 trainers to reside at that particular one facility. I only ever operated out of one gym at one facility. And so once again, from my perspective, it wasn't about trying to get myself in every single gym around town. More importantly, it was build a really strong and successful business model in one location. Now, you might be thinking, wow, with 13 trainers and all the rest of it, this must have been a huge gym. It really wasn't. This gym was probably about 300 square meters. This gym had around about 1,000 members, and it wasn't a huge facility at all. So again, what I'm here to tell you is that regardless of the size, regardless of the number of members or any of that sort of stuff, there are ways that you can build a successful model that gives you exactly what you want. So the thing I get fascinated by is deciding what's the driving force. Why are you building a business? Why have you made the decision to go, all right, it's now time for me to invest the time, the energy, and the money to build this business and to make it a success? So, and for those of you who are watching, I would suggest that you hit the pause button or do whatever you can and just take a note on this, have a think about it, brainstorm and go, why am I building this business? Is it the fact that you want to create more in terms of your lifestyle? Maybe it's there's certain things that you want to do or that you want to achieve. Maybe it's the fact that you want to service or help more people. Maybe it's the fact that you want to live in a certain location, want to have certain types of possessions, the type of car you drive, all that sort of stuff. Once again, these are all going to be a byproduct of you building this business, because really a business, it becomes the vehicle to supplying you with everything that you want in your future. So I know from my perspective, I know what my driving force is for sure, and it's being able to spend the time with the people in my life that are most important to me. So, I get the privilege of hanging out with my family. I get the privilege of hanging out with my children. I get the chance to go to sport with them, to do their homework with them, to hang out and have quality time. And so I go, well, it's fantastic that business has been able to allow me the opportunity to do all this. Now, the houses, the cars, the holidays, all that sort of stuff, that's all fantastic. But I've only got to look at that screen and that answer is pretty clear to me as to why I'm doing it. For you, it might be a totally different answer. You might say, yep, what I'm in this about is building a location. And I'll build this location. I want to make it the best possible facility that serves people in the best possible way. And that's my mission. That's what I'm all about. And the other part to it is making that transition from solo, independent personal trainer to moving into potentially growing a team of trainers, a team of coaches, having a support network around you and people that can assist you on your journey, regardless of if you operate, as I did, a person-to-person, face-to-face fitness business, or alternatively, if you're running an online business and you're serving more people that way. So from our perspective, in the year 2020, as I shoot this, what we see right now is a great opportunity for those of you who want to either build a face-to-face physical business or those of you who want to build purely an online business. And I'm going to tell you for a fact that the systems, the structure and the processes that we teach in the initial phases are going to be able to direct you in either of those locations or in either of those genres. So it really is up to you as to what is your driving force and how do you want that to look. So you heard already that my charge out rate changed quite significantly during my time and during my career as a personal trainer. So when I first kicked off 25 odd years ago, I had absolutely no idea what to charge. And back then, there wasn't many personal trainers around and the going rate was about $30 per hour. And I thought, this is incredible. If someone's going to pay me $30 to train them for 1 hour, this is awesome. I'm in. And as you can probably see from my background, this is my love affair, and it's something that I just knew that if I was going to get involved in this, I pretty much, the love affair I had with it, I would have done it for free, given how passionate I was about it. And what you can see by this graph is for the first few years, I really had no methodology or concept on how I could increase that charge out rate. So for that first 5 years, for that roller coaster journey, in many ways, I pretty much sort of charged the same. I didn't increase clients' fees. Maybe at some point in that timeline, if somebody come along, I might have gone from $30 to $35 for a new person, but in no way, shape or form did I charge some of my existing clients anymore because I was too fearful of it and I had no system or strategy behind it. And so I turned around, and at the 5-year mark, what I found myself was that, I had improved my skill set. So I had got better technically and I was getting better results for people, and they were obviously liking what I did because they kept coming back. But what I found myself after 5 years was getting incredibly busy, and I was at the point of burnout. So I built myself up to doing over 40 1-hour personal training sessions per week. Now, if you've ever done that sort of volume or that sort of load before inside your week of PT, what you'll probably resonate with me is when I say that you can feel pretty burnt out, pretty overwhelmed. You can feel pretty much like that you want to die at the end of it because you've been giving. And so I'd hit that point after 5 years. Now, charging, when I look back to it, clients were there and they were paying. I'm doing 40 plus sessions. $30 a session here, $30 a session there. So there was cash flow coming in. However, back then, and I'm working from 5 a.m. till 9 or 10 p.m. every single day, the only way I knew back then to make more money was to do more sessions. And trust me, when I was at that point of burnout, I definitely didn't want to do that. And at that point, I definitely considered quitting the industry altogether because I just couldn't see a way forward. I couldn't see a way that I could potentially create the lifestyle that I wanted. And keep in mind that this is, I'm just trying to do my best with the knowledge, with the skill set that I had. And I hadn't really improved this business knowledge or this business skill set. Then what you'll notice is that when I met my first coach, I met my first mentor at that 5-year mark, there was a point in time, what you're going to see from this graph is where this rate starts to increase. And I went through a rates increase system. And what it was all about, it had 2 parts to it. And I wanted to unpack this for you just so that you can hear it from me so you can understand the journey and the process behind it. Point number 1 was all about going at 40 1-hour sessions per week that I was doing back then. I can tell you for a fact I definitely didn't want to do any more one-on-one sessions. And at the same time, because I was so busy, I'd learned the idea behind potentially hiring my first trainer. Now, in hiring my first trainer, if I was going to charge back then, I think I'd climbed up to about $50 a session, but I was also charging my trainer out at the same $50 per session. And what I noticed is as I was meeting these new prospective clients, pretty much all of them wanted to keep training with me because I was the same price as my new trainer. Now, I was the person with the 5 years experience. I was the person who was, had a greater level of training and had a greater level of results with people. And of course, what was happening, because I was the owner of the personal training business, people kept coming to me. So step number 1 was what I need to do is start to separate myself from my first trainer, and then as I start to build a team to keep doing that. And what I also noticed is that I had to put it to a figure that was enough, which pushed me slightly out of the ballpark against those other people. So When I have a trainer at $50 a session, well, I needed to put myself up at around about $70 per session, and that's exactly what occurred. So what you'll see is this graph, it starts to climb and it gets up to $50 a session, it gets up to $70 a session, it moves up to $90 per session, and then it hits $110 a session. And at that point in time, interestingly enough, the goal was to move from doing 40 1-hour sessions and to try and get back to 35 sessions and to get back to 30 sessions and so forth. But what I noticed, even at $110 a session, is that people kept paying it and clients kept paying it. Now, trust me, I love training clients. I got great results with people and it was an absolute love affair of mine. But also what I had realized at this point in time is that I'd started my business journey, and some of these strategies I'm about to unpack for you today are the exact reason why I needed to go through this rate change process. And so this first part was all about going, all right, well, if I can increase my charge out fee, and what it means for me is I can do less sessions, but it means I can bring in the same amount of income or the same amount of revenue into the business. What then that then does, it allows me to free up some time. And once I've freed up that time, what can I do then? Well, I can start to work on the business. And you might have heard of these two different terminologies. There's the working in, and then there's the working on. And the working in is the part where you do turn up and you are exchanging time for money and you are training people one-on-one or coaching a class or whatever that might be. But then there's the part where you are working on the business, and that's the part where you're working on the systems, on the structure, on the process, on the marketing strategy, on improving your sales process. And trust me, that is the part that is going to take you and turn you from solo independent coach or trainer and start to put you into the role of business owner. And trust me when I say that there is a mindset shift that happens at that point in time. Now, fascinatingly enough, at $110 a session, what I noticed is that these people kept paying it, and I noticed more people were paying it, and I noticed that what happened is that price was not the issue. What I'd learned is that people will buy on value. They will buy on when they see a solution, and because we'd improved our systems and we were very good at being able to get our marketing message across to people, what it meant is that we were attracting more and more people through the door. Now, at that point in time, I made it, just if I rewind the clock and just hit the pause button there, keep in mind this is back in around about 2002 or 2003. So, you know, we're getting close to almost 20 years ago that this was the case. I made a decision at $110 a session because when I noticed people kept paying it, I decided that every time I change my rates in the future, I'm going to double them. And the reason I made that decision is that I knew that what it meant for me is that I could potentially lose or not train half of the clients that I'm training, but still bring in the same amount of revenue. Now, when I say lose, we didn't lose those people from the business altogether. Those clients would move to another trainer. It was part of the strategy behind assisting me to grow effectively with a team of personal trainers. And so that's exactly what happened. I moved up to $220 per session. And then in the year of 2006, so we're talking roughly 14 years ago, $220 per session, the goal was for me to do 10 of those sessions per week. 10 lots of $220 means that I'm going to be personally responsible for bringing in around about $2,000 of revenue into this business every single week. Now, note for those of you who are growing a team of trainers, one observation that we often see here at Trainer HQ when we're coaching others to build their team is that quite often the principal, the head trainer, or the owner of the business may start to pull themselves away from sessions too quickly. So the other thing I'm going to say to you is that in running a business, you need to calculate and figure out what is your responsibility, what is your commitment as part of the business, because you're going to be an income earning asset. And for those of you who are a solo trainer or those of you who are doing a solo online business, well, yeah, you're it, because if you don't produce the income, it doesn't come in. But for those of you who are building a team of people or a team of coaches, my suggestion is just to be mindful of exactly what point, exactly what moment you pull yourself away from it. And that's definitely something we can work together with you to design the right strategic plan on how to do that. So the goal was to do 10 sessions a week, $200 a session, $2,000 a week into the business. But I remember turning around at this particular point in time and I looked back on my statistics and my spreadsheet, which is another reason why you need to have this stuff in place. And I'd seen that for about the last 3 months that I wasn't doing 10 $200 sessions per week. I was doing 16, 17, 18, sometimes 20 of these sessions per week. And although that was good because it meant that there was more revenue coming into the business, what it meant for me, the question is what wasn't I doing? And what I wasn't doing, I wasn't working on hiring more trainers. I wasn't working on building the systems, because in doing even 20 appointments per week, and sometime around about that time, we switched at Peak Physique to going from 1 hour sessions to 45-minute sessions. And even at 20, 45-minute sessions per week, what I noticed, it was still taking a fair bit of time and energy and effort, because obviously it's not just the 20 sessions that you turn up and do, but it's also the extra work and support that you give people on or around those sessions. And so I made an executive call, and that executive call was for me to once again double those rates and to go to that $440 figure. And I knew that moving to $440 is that I could train half as many clients but still receive the same amount of revenue and money. Now, I had some clients that came on this journey that you're witnessing right now. For some of them, money was not the issue and the price was not the issue. And I had others who said to me words to the effect of, Brad, I love training with you. It's been an awesome ride, but there is no way in hell I'm going to pay $200 to train with you for a session. Now, we didn't lose those people from the business altogether, because as I said, they moved to another one of our team members. And my mantra then was going, well, I realize that some people will, and I also realize that some people won't. And that's completely their decision. So I had to start to separate myself from what was ever going on in my head from the reality, and to realize that, hey, not everyone's going to pay the higher fee, but I tell you what, there will be some people out there that do. The minute I set my rates at $400, I knew in my head that there's going to be somebody coming along and will pay that. And within about a week, I had my first $400 paying client. So I didn't set out, like, it wasn't in my goals to become, Australia's highest paid personal trainer, as was the case in 2006. It was part of the business journey, part of the business plan. Now, of course, I was improving myself technically. I was delivering a greater level of results. I was impacting more people's lives. And so what I often notice in the industry is that there can be a bit of a disconnect going, well, you are passionate about what you do, you're great at what you do, you make a huge impact in the world, but quite often the amount of revenue, income, or profit that you receive as a result of that might not match up with everything that you're doing. And so once again, that's one of our mantras, or our motto at Trainer HQ, is how you can get the most out of what it is that you do. What it also meant for me that I could do was start to reduce my hands-on hours. So it meant for me that I could go from doing those 40 sessions per week, and I could reduce those number of hands-on hours. And even when I was doing 10 lots of 45-minute sessions, that's 7.5 hours per week of actual contact time in the gym. It started to open up a whole world of opportunities for me to do and for me to improve my business and to effectively grow my team. So really I was able to increase my revenue whilst reducing my hands-on hours. So I wanted to run you through the steps and the system that actually helped me. And trust me, this system's been developed for many years, since the inception of Peak Physique, since Jason opened his gym, and we've put together our systems and processes, and that's what enabled us to create Trainer HQ. And that's what's also enabled us to put together our Pathway to Profits 30 for 30 program, so that you can run through the step-by-step process on what we do. So let me discuss it. So steps 1 and 2 is all about having a clear plan and putting the right systems into place. And so that part is absolutely critical. So number 1, having a clear plan. What we often see is that you need to be laser focused on where it is that you're heading and what it is that you would like to achieve in terms of the results from your business. And so what we see is way too many trainers are just simply hoping for the best. It's fingers crossed. We call it the hope plan. And trust me, the hope plan is not a plan. Okay, so you need to have a methodical process behind it. And we see that too many trainers are just simply getting by or just living week to week. They're unsure about financial targets. We often ask people as they come through Trainer HQ, do you have any financial goals or targets that you've set up? And quite often the response we get from people is to say, yeah, well, I haven't really given it much thought. And I might say, well, how much money would you say like to be earning per week? and I hear words like, well, maybe a bit more than I am at the moment, or if I can just increase it a bit, that'd be excellent. I'd love to have a bit more. And once again, it doesn't fill me with confidence. And so what we're looking for is a methodical process on how you can increase that. Many people are confused about what they need to track and how to do it, and very unclear if they can even make a living in this industry. So once again, in the year 2020, what I see, there's an abundance, there's a huge amount of fitness professionals and personal trainers still active, even though we've had this whole coronavirus thing and it's wiped out quite a number of people. We've had plenty of trainers who have left the industry. I can tell you for a fact that many new trainers have also embarked and started their business during this whole time as well. So it's estimated that even in this country, in Australia, there's around about 50,000 personal trainers actively involved. Now, if you're in there and you're thinking, wow, there's huge amounts of competition, there's lots of online PTs, there's lots of studios and all the rest of it, I'm unsure about how I can do this. Well, what we're about is assisting you on this journey and how you can make a big difference doing it. And a lot of trainers just don't have any support. They don't have any accountability. They don't have any guidance on what they need to do. And so once again, we need to stomp that stuff out and make sure that you are getting what it is that you want. Now, back to the earning part. Well, look, how much you want to earn as a PT or as a fitness professional, that's entirely up to you. That is your decision. And what I mean by that, whether you want to earn $50,000 per year, or whether you want to earn $80,000 per year, or 100, 200, 500, that's your choice, right? It's not my business how much you want to earn, but more importantly, you want to have a think about what is it going to supply you with in terms of your requirements, in terms of your lifestyle, in terms of the things that you want to get out of it. And so that's what we're passionate about, is to assist people to make sure that they set themselves up to engineer the lifestyle that it is that they want. When we talk systems, now systems are an integral part of business, and that's why it's so important that you start to plug in these systems into place. Now, too many trainers just have little or no systems into place. And if I think about one of the most paramount systems you need to have in your business, it's the idea of how do I convert a client when I get somebody sitting in front of me. And so I often ask PTs, all right, so tell me what happens when you get yourself in front of a new prospective client. And I've heard this type of response from many people. Look, I just tell them the price and I sort of wait to see their reaction. Or they might say, look, what I do is I just DM them the price and, I just sort of wait, and some of them just ghost me and I don't hear back from them, and others might respond and all that sort of stuff. But what you need to have here is you need to have a strategy. You need to have a system into place to make sure that you are giving yourself the best possible chance to win, because really that is not a system. Okay, hoping and praying, just blurting out the price or any of that sort of stuff, it's not the way to do it. And so this is what we refer to as a system. And there are so many different systems that you need to plug into your business. And once again, inside the 30 for 30, we lay these out as a step-by-step journey for you. So that at the end of 30 days, you can turn around and be proud of what you've built and to go, yeah, I've now built my systems and processes so that I can set myself up for growth and for success. Once we've figured out the strategic plan, well, then we're going to go down to the actions that you need to put in place. And it's heavily driven by you acquiring more leads. And then once you've put those leads in front of you, making sure that you do convert more of those people into ongoing clients. And so this is the part, once again, that I see of paramount importance. So let's talk a little bit about leads, because it doesn't take much to scroll on Insta, socials, Facebook, or any of these sort of places, and you probably see people promising you 100 leads a day, 100,000 leads a week, whatever it might be. And I would suggest that there's probably lots of hype and lots of false promises out there as well. So first and foremost, having an effective marketing strategy is not just about acquiring leads. So if you're sitting there and you see some of this stuff, what can happen is it can have a negative reaction. So it's like, oh, well, maybe I need to be acquiring 100 leads per week, or maybe that's what I need. Now, for many people, if I was to hand you 100 leads in a week, the question would be, what the hell would you do with them? And most people wouldn't have a strategy or a system behind that, or even know where to start. So what it's all about, more importantly, is making sure you attract what we refer to as your ideal client, who is what we call highly qualified. And what that means, they know exactly what problems it is that you solve. Very different to you acquiring a lead. If I take a step back, how do I define a lead? I define a lead as you acquiring a name, an email, and a phone number. That's a lead, okay? And it's as simple as that. Now, that is good, don't get me wrong. It's better than not having one. However, when you've got a highly qualified, targeted person that knows exactly what problems you solve, then you're putting yourself in that best possible chance to bring somebody on board for your program or service or whatever it is. Now, this is all about making sure that you take the guesswork of how to attract these ideal clients with effective messaging that brings them into your funnel. And this is the part that we see way too many fitness professionals skip, because when I ask many PTs, look, who do you specialize in or what type of clients are you targeting? For many of them, it's, well, maybe target this type of individual, but they're not really clear on how to get that message across and how to make sure that that prospective buyer knows that they are the perfect solution for what it is that they need. Now, once we've got that part sorted, what it does, it makes the sales process a hell of a lot easier. So once we've invited this prospective person through the door, what it means for us is that we do have the ability to convert these people into ongoing clients. And once again, sales is a very interesting word for the fitness industry, because many personal trainers, fitness professionals generally find themselves maybe not such a fan of the word sales. Maybe they're a bit anti-sales, maybe they don't want to come across as pushy. And for many people, they just say, look, I signed up to be a trainer and to help people. I didn't sign up to be a quote unquote salesperson. However, what you do need to know is to understand the psychology behind sales, and more importantly, understand what entices people to want to take the next step with you. So let's think about it from this perspective. When someone's plucked up the courage to actually take the first step and reach out to fitness professional, trainer, they've called you on the phone, they've sent you a DM, they've sent you an email, they've taken a step in the right direction, they've taken an action towards that. What you need to do is make sure that you do have a very well structured and thought out conversion process. So let's think about it from this perspective, okay? Let's say that you have acquired a lead, and let's suggest that this lead is pretty clear on what it is that you do because you've put out the right messaging to the right target market. The first step that we recommend is to have some sort of introductory discussion. Now, the reason why we do that is that very quickly we want to identify whether we feel, number one, that we could potentially help this person. And I say from an ethical perspective, once I have this introductory chat, instead of me just going, yep, I can help anyone, I'll train anyone, anywhere, anytime, instead, I want to understand whether I genuinely believe I could be of assistance to you. And once we've had that introductory call, I'm going to start to get some pretty clear evidence, and I'm going to start to get an idea on whether I take it through to the next step. And that might be running some sort of consultation, whether we do that as a sit down person to person, whether we do that over Zoom, whether we do that when you come into the gym and you do an intro session. There's many ways to do this, but this is your best chance of success to be able to turn somebody into a new ongoing client. So let's have a think about this now from this step one intro call, and some ways and some methodologies that we could take somebody through into this step number two. So there are many ways to do it. Back at Peak Physique, we did it mostly over a person-to-person sit-down consult that would run for about 30 minutes. And we found over the many years that we ran that business, we had a huge amount of success with bringing people in, inviting them in to have a sit-down, face-to-face chat with people. Now, it's beyond the scope of today's teaching or learning to run you through the process behind that, but that all sits in the pathway to profits. Alternatively, we have many people on our Trainer HQ program who bring people down for an introductory session. They have an experience of some level. Maybe it's a free trial if you run a group program, or maybe you bring them in for some type of body assessment, lifestyle assessment, something that's going to assist them on their journey, or quite possibly it could be a combination of all of the above. And so once again, the reason I'm discussing this with you is I'd say that there is not one best practice that works for every single person out there, but more importantly, this is what we help people with, is to find the thing that is most suitable, that's going to give them the best possible chance of conversion inside their business. Next part is figuring out, all right, what does it mean for you? Well, it means that number 5, you get to attract better, higher level, higher quality, higher paying clients through the door. And once you do that, what it means for you is that you start to position yourself as an expert. And so I can tell you for a fact that people will pay more, they will do whatever it takes to work with an expert, because it'll mean that you can stop selling on price, and more importantly, you can start selling on your expertise. And that part is absolutely critical right now. Number 5, what does it mean for you? Well, you get to attract better, higher level, higher quality, higher paying clients into your business. And then it really enables you to position yourself as an absolute dead set expert. And so people will willingly pay more for an expert. So what this means for you is that you can stop selling on price, and more importantly, you start selling on value, and people are going to see the merits on what it is that you can deliver and how you can make a big impact on their life. And trust me, when people are paying more for your service, you're going to have better people turn up, they're going to be more committed, and they're going to get better results as an end result of all that. The next part, this gives you options, okay? Once we've done all this, once we've sorted this first part out, you've got options, and some of those options might be things like considering building some type of passive income. And there are many ways to do that. You can have an online offering which brings money in, you can start to build a team. And so from our perspective, we know for a fact that this is one of the best and most successful models that is operating today. And trust me, whether you're running a face-to-face physical business or you're running an online business, you have the ability to grow a team of coaches in either of those two models. And we have people on the Trainer HQ program that are doing both, and doing both very successfully, so we can share with you the methodologies behind that. Now, if I go back to my journey, things were moving along particularly well. Like I said, I'd increased my charge out rate. I got myself up to $200 a session, and our team was doing well over 100 sessions per week. And things were moving along particularly well. So what I found myself was I've really engineered a lifestyle that I was absolutely loving, and was producing the type of results for me that was going well. We had good cash flow coming in. So I was doing stuff like, getting out and doing adventurous stuff, kayaking, taking clients out kayaking, getting into outdoor adventure sports, mountain biking. What I also noticed was that when I had experienced the success in the business, is that I was probably somebody that wasn't very used to having a lot of money, a lot of income, a lot of revenue coming in. Once this happened, miraculously, what I found myself was finding ways to relieve myself of that income or that money. So the short story was, I just wasn't programmed, and I really hadn't had the money mindset and really understood what it took to be able to, not only I knew how to create the money because it had occurred, but then I also had no control about what to do with it. So what it meant for me, that I actually finished that year of 2003 and I was about $30,000 in debt. Now, you might ask, how the hell did that happen? Because hold on, you're doing all these sessions, you're charging $200 a session, all the rest of it. Well, trust me, when I say that I really hadn't followed the formula, really hadn't understood what it took to build a successful business, because a successful business is all about increasing its profitability. And I'd miraculously found a way to be able to spend most of the money and even more of it that actually came into the business. And we refer to this as the money mindset, and it's such an integral and such an important part of the shift to becoming a six-figure, multi-six, or maybe even seven-figure fitness business owner. And it's the concept of spending versus investing. So the question is for you to ask yourself, are you simply spending money that comes in, or are you actually investing in opportunities to make your money? And so once again, unfortunately, what we see is for many PTs, and exactly what I was doing, 17 or 18 or so years ago, is that I hadn't really understood the benefit and the concept behind making sure that I invested that money successfully. And so when I look back on that, I'm so thankful, I'm so grateful that I experienced that $30,000 hole, because what it meant for me was that I became meticulous with understanding the value about money. I became meticulous with understanding the concept of business profitability, and more importantly, I became meticulous with making sure that I could assist others to make sure they set themselves up for success into the future. And so once again, I'm so grateful. So if I look back to some of the major changes that I made along this journey, number one, I changed my mindset. It was a shift. I moved from going, if you asked me, 16, 17, 18 years ago or more, hey, what do you do with yourself? I would have said, I'm just Brad and I'm the PT. I train people, that's what I do. As soon as I changed my mindset to I'm Brad, but I'm the owner of a successful personal training company, what it meant for me is opportunities started to open up. I started to view the business differently, and I started to consider myself more of a business owner instead of just the person that turns up and trains people. At the same time, what I did is I implemented the right systems, and this part is paramount. So you need to make sure that you get your hands on the right tools, the right resources, the right templates. And every time I was able to put a new system into place, it meant that the business could run more efficiently. It meant that it could run a little bit less stress-free, and it meant that I could achieve more results or more success. I also got the right support network around me. Now, somebody said to me many years ago, hey Brad, it's going to be pretty hard for you to fly with the eagles when you hang with the turkeys. And so once again, what I found myself doing was probably not surrounding myself with my success team or with the people that could really help me. Now, I'm not suggesting to any of you that you should go out there and sack your friends or your family. Keep your friends, and of course you have to keep your family, but just broaden your horizon. So inside our Trainer HQ community, we've got a group of like-minded fitness entrepreneurs, people that genuinely want to see each and every other person in that group, in that community succeed. And that stuff becomes infectious, it's powerful. And so what we notice is that the people that become part of that and the people that contribute and get involved, they're the ones that get the greatest level of success. So if you haven't joined our Facebook Trainer HQ community group yet, please make sure you do that. It'd be pretty easy to find. Just go Trainer HQ Community. So that's Trainer HQ Community, and you'll find the group. It's a private group. We'll let you in, and you can come and join us and get around the good stuff that we speak about on a daily basis. And it's really, there was that shift for me in investing heavily. So on this process, in this journey, I invested heavily in terms of time, in terms of energy, in terms of money, to make sure that this was going to work, that this was actually a success. And if I hadn't done that, there's a chance that it might not have been a success for me. So with all these things in place now, what it meant for me and what it can mean for you is that you can have these outcomes. Number one, it's making more profit. Now, like I said before, making more money is good, but you want to have a business that is more profitable. So if you make $2,000 per week, but you also spend $1,900 per week, well, there's not a lot of profit in there. And so we would say that that's possibly not a very profitable business. So I want to make sure that we set that up for success. Number two is having more freedom. Now, I've yet to meet many trainers who say to me, look, I want to build the business, but I want to have the lifestyle, but I also want to work 70, 80 or 90 hours a week. Of course, if you want to do that, that's your choice. But to this date, 25 odd years, I still haven't seen many people in our industry who want to do that out of choice. So we generally enter this industry because we have a love affair with it. We have a love affair with training, with exercise. It forms part of our DNA. And so once again, that's what I'm passionate about, is assisting people to create the freedom that they want. And lastly, impacting more people's lives. So for many of us, this is why we entered this industry, because we love the impact that we have on people's lives. And if you've had people turn around to you and say, you've changed my life, it's a pretty special thing to be a part of. And we refer to it as at Trainer HQ as the ripple effect. So you go out there and you build a more successful PT business. And what happens is you then impact more people's lives. You have more people that get changed. And so for us, the ripple effect occurs. So we've helped all these different fitness businesses, well over 10,000 of them since the year 2008. And what we see for each one of these businesses is that they impact more people's lives. And so we've played a small part in that as well. So if you are happy to join us on this mission, then it's going to mean that we all win and we all get to play a small part in that as well. So it's over to you now. And so if you do really want to build a thriving fitness business, if you want to do what you love and at the same time impact more people's lives and also enjoy the rewards for your effort, which is what most of us actually want, I'm here to tell you that you can have it all. And the reason I say that is way too often what I see out there is people suggest that you can't have it all. And you might have heard that statement as well. People say, look, you can't have it all. Well, my question back to you is, why not? Why can't you have it all? Why can't you be able to build the business you love? Why can't you impact more people's lives? Why can't you get the financial rewards, build the lifestyle, and have everything that you want? Because I'm here to tell you that you can. I want to share with you a story, and it's a story about a book. Now, this book, right, was handed to me. It was given to me when I first launched as a personal trainer roughly 25 or 26 years ago. Now, I was all pumped up, I was gung-ho, and I was ready to launch into the industry, and somebody who was close to me said to me, hey, here's a good book I think you should read. It's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now, if you're into books and resources, it's definitely one of our recommended resources. I recommend you get your hands on it or download the audio or do whatever you need to do, but some very valuable tools in there. But they gave me that book with all good intentions, and they said, Brad, you look like a pretty young, motivated sort of an individual. Here's a book I think you should read. Now, how much did I pay for that book? The answer is zero. So it didn't cost me anything because somebody physically gave it to me. Now, if somebody gives something to you or you acquire something for free, is there a chance that you might not value that thing the same way that you would value it if you'd paid for it? It's a possibility, right? And that's pretty much what happened to me, because I took that book home and with all the best intentions, I said, I'm going to read that book someday. I took it home, and what do you reckon I did with the book? And if you're wondering, yep, he definitely put it on the bookshelf. So I took it home, I put it on the bookshelf, and I said to myself, I'm going to read that book one day. Now, how many times did I walk past that bookshelf? Probably thousands, right? And I didn't always notice it. In the beginning, there's a few times I've got to get to that book at some stage, and occasionally something might pop up and I'd think about the book. But then after a while, I began to forget about it. And it just sat there. Now, I met my first coach. Well, first of all, let's think about the first 5 years in the industry. Like I said, no clue. For 5 years, no clue on how to get clients, no systems, no processes, no structure, had no accountability, had uncertainty all the time. I was just wasting time, missed opportunities. So, and that roller coaster journey for me, I look back on it and I go, wow, there was so much I didn't know, didn't understand, didn't do. And I met my first business coach at around about that point in time at the 5-year mark. And I was frustrated. I was doing 40 plus sessions a week, 40 plus hours of PT. I got to the point where I was considering quitting the industry because I was starting to get disillusioned with it. Now, you've seen my background, you've seen the love affair I have with it, and I was at the point where I'm considering, well, maybe I should go and do something else, because the only way I knew back then to make more money was to do more sessions, and trust me, I didn't want to do that. It was all about trying to get lifestyle back. I was explaining to this particular business coach some of my frustrations and some of my concerns. This person sat me down, and as they were hearing some of these, they said to me, look, I've got this book that, you know, there's a book I recommend that you probably could read. You might get some value out of it. You'll never guess what book it was. Well, you probably could. It was that book. And I said, I've got that book. And he said, have you read it? And I said, no. And he said, well, there you go. There's your first homework task. I'm going to get you to hook into that book. And so, you know, I knocked it over in the course of a weekend, and I look back on it, and that book for me, now that book doesn't hold the secret to every single PT business success, but the way I look back on it, for me, that book becomes a metaphor. It's a metaphor for all the things that I just didn't know, didn't do, didn't understand, didn't action, because I didn't have the right skill set, because I didn't have the knowledge, because I didn't have access to the resources, because I didn't have access to the tools. And so I've still got that book. It's, like I said, it's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by the late, great Stephen Covey. It's at home. It's got dog ears, post-it notes, highlighter, pen all through it. And, you know, I love that book. But more importantly, it's like, what does that book mean for me? So allow this to be a point in time. Allow this to be a moment where you've been on this with me. You've been on this journey so far. This is your chance. So I'm gifting you this information, but I'm going to invite you now to take the next step so you can get the most out of it. Because we know exactly what good looks like. And there's myself and my business partner, Jason Ubanich. And when we launched this business in 2008, we knew that our mission was to change the lives of more fitness professionals. So whether you're a PT inside a commercial gym, you own your own facility or studio, you do outdoor, mobile, you own some sort of membership-based facility. We've coached F45s, CrossFit, MMA, functional fitness, you name it. Online coaches and allied health professionals. That's our forte, that's our speciality, and business coaching is the main part of our business. And we've got huge amounts of information, we've got huge amounts of knowledge, and we actually want to share it with you. We want to unpack for you the steps that you need to take. So we're going to invite you right now to join us on our 30 for 30 challenge on our Pathway to Profits program. Now, you might be curious to know a bit about what 30 for 30 means, and I'm going to run you through that in a minute, but it's all about you avoiding the uncertainty of business. It's all about you being held accountable to get this stuff done. It's putting yourself in the best possible position to win so you can get the most out of business and so that you can avoid wasting both time and missed opportunities as well. In 30 days, we're going to challenge you. We're going to suggest that you should get your systems and your processes set up for success. And you're going to also implement your profit structure so that you set your business up for future growth. You're going to take the guesswork out of how to attract your ideal clients through effective messaging and, more importantly, how that applies to your marketing methods as well. And when you can nail that part, you're going to make what you do crystal clear in the eyes of your prospective clients. And more importantly, we want to invite you to join our community of like-minded trainers who feel supported in their journey every single step of the way. Now, if you do all this and you embark on the 30 for 30 challenge, it's going to leave you with these particular outcomes. You're going to increase your profit and you're going to know exactly what you need to focus on every single week. Way too many fitness professionals have really no clue on what it is that they need to be doing. And so our program is all about assisting you to gain clarity. And so it's making sure that you feel in control of your business with a very strong sense in your confidence and, more importantly, your direction. Now, trust me, we're not promising that within 30 days you're going to build a 6 or a 7-figure business. Like I said, that part is entirely up to you. But more importantly, what you can do is make sure that you set your business up for success inside that time frame. And so what does it mean for you? Well, it means that you can have more freedom and you can actually do what you love and impact more people's lives in the journey. So what's our Pathway to Profits program all about? It's the information and the content. We want to share that with you and take you through the step-by-step journey and what you need to do. Inside there, we share with you the important resources and templates and things that you need to plug into your business to make sure that it's humming along. And we also give you the action tasks and the necessary support via the community as well. We've got 5 main pillars in this program as it runs through, and the first one is all about removing mental roadblocks to success. The second one, we take a deep dive in what it takes to build a 6-figure and beyond personal training business. The third pillar, we move then into understanding every single part about business, the statistics, and more importantly, the things that you need to track. And then we move into the last 2 parts, which are the meatiest parts of the content, which is attracting your ideal clients with effective marketing strategies. And inside there, we've got 9 different modules, 9 different lessons and strategies and templates for you to implement. And finally, once you have those qualified people in front of you, we want to hand you the conversion formula on what it takes to turn those people into ongoing clients. So these are the nuts and bolts. So we're going to invite you now to invest 30 minutes per day for only 30 days so you can set your business systems up and rapidly accelerate your business knowledge and your business skill set. And that's what this is all about. That's what we're inviting you to do, and that's what the 30 for 30 challenge is all about. Learn how to rapidly increase your profits in less than 30 days, even if you have no clue on what you need to be doing or where to start. And so that's what we're going to share with you. So how can you get started and how can you come and join us on this 30 for 30 challenge? Because we're super pumped to be launching it. We're super pumped to be inviting you as part of it. Well, you might be wondering, how much is this program? Now, this program retails for $997. Now, when we launched this program earlier in 2020, we launched it right on about in March 2020. Now, when we launched the program, there was one other thing that happened in March 2020, and many of you will be pretty familiar with it because it had a pretty big impact on the way we live, and that was called the coronavirus. And so at that point in time, we sat down here in the Trainer HQ headquarters and we said, what can we do? How can we give back to this industry? And more importantly, how can we get our Pathway to Profits in the hands of more trainers who actually need this help. They need this support right now. And so I want to share with you in a moment exactly what we did. But inside this program, we've added some bonus, and each section comes with resources. It comes with templates that you would actually download, and you can start to use it in your business. So not only do we teach you the action steps, but we also hand you the template so that you can plug another system into your business to make sure that you get to the end of those 30 days and you can look back on it and be very confident, very proud as to what you've developed in your business. Also, for those of you that qualify, you will have the opportunity for a business growth review session with one of our Trainer HQ master coaches and master advisors. And so those of you who embark on the program, you have the opportunity to be able to get yourself inside one of those as well. Like I said, it's a $1,000 program. And if we break these different parts down into these different chunks, number one, the program itself is $997. The bonus templates value at $297, and the business review is valued at $197. So add all that up and you can see it comes to a total of $1,491. Now, I look at that and I say $1,500, and I say, would you be prepared to invest $1,500 in your business to get you an ongoing return? Invest it once and get you an ongoing return that's going to be able to set you up for success and also be able to enable you to build the business that you want. So just to run through it again, it's the Pathway to Profits full program, it's the bonus templates and the business review, and add it all up to $1,491. However, like I said, we're not going to ask you to pay that. And when this coronavirus thing hit, we go, what do we do? How do we give back to the industry? And so we said, well, we're not going to ask you to pay that. Instead, we reduced that price massively, and we've brought that price right down to only $97. Now, at only $97, we're going to give you every single thing that you see there and every single part of this program. And somewhere linked to this video, you're going to see an opportunity with a link to go through to the page which explains this in more detail and where you can transact and get your hands on it for immediate access. But our promise to you is that we're going to show you what it takes to build a strong and profitable business inside 30 days. And we're going to ask you to go through this program. And if for some reason you don't feel like you get 100% value, or you don't feel like the resources, the learning in there has been worth every single cent and beyond, we're going to refund every single cent. So all you have to do, no questions asked, just come to us and say, hey, I'm not happy with this program, and we're going to give you back every single cent. Now, if all this program did for you, if all it did right now was to bring you in one-on-one personal training client, to use as an example, and if this person trained with you for only an accumulation of 1 hour, depending upon if you do half-hour or 45-minute sessions, based on the rates that I would assume that many of you should be charging, well, you've already paid for it. And we're going to invite that person in just to do one paid session for up to 1 hour. And trust me when I say that this program is going to deliver for you much, much more in terms of success, in terms of what it is that you want. So please, please don't let this opportunity that sits in front of you right now be like that book of mine that sat on the shelf for 5 years. Now is your opportunity for you to take action. Now is your time, and now is the chance for you to be able to secure the complete Pathway to Profits with the programs and join our 30 for 30 program at only $97. That's right, that's just 97. And so what we'd like to do at this point in time is to invite you to click on the button, click on the link wherever you might see it, come through the page and jump on that immediately. And on the other side, we're really super pumped to be able to welcome you into the Trainer HQ community. So thank you, those of you who have joined me live. Thank you for those of you who have stayed with us. And from my perspective, I hope you've got the value out of what you've seen today. As you can probably see from my passion and enthusiasm, we are super pumped about this industry. We want the best for you and we want the most success for you. So please, 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 you've heard some information. You've heard some suggestion, you've heard some methodology on how you can create a more successful business. It's over to you now. Now is your chance to take a step in the right direction and to make sure you implement some of this stuff. I look forward to welcoming you into our Trainer HQ community, and I'll see you on the other side. Bye-bye for now.